All right, we are back once again with the Think Fitness Life podcast. And this week we are talking about finding your weaknesses within your habits, within your routines, in terms of nutrition, in terms of lifestyle habits, sleep, stress management, exercise, movement as well. And we're going to talk all about that in a second here. But before we get into that, I know that Menchie and myself both have some quotes or some studies to reference. So why don't you go ahead and open up?
So I was reading online last week about the dietary guidelines, and I know we've gone over and talked about these in the past, and it went on to say that most of America or the United States is not even meeting or coming close to fulfilling the guidelines that we have set. Now, we all currently know that, the guidelines are a good place to start, but not always are the best. But stuff like vitamin A, E, D, C, about 75% of the population do not consume enough.
75% don't consume enough.
Yeah. Of vitamins, nutrients. And then another said 80% of the population doesn't consume enough vegetables.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that.
It's like, whoa. So adherence is very low to these guidelines, and it is very concerning to actually read something like that and be like, wow, people are informed or just don't really care. And that's two very bad things to be. You never want to be unaware of what you're putting into your body. And I think it kind of stems into what you have is that all this food and damage that we're actually creating is not helping us live longer in the long run, or it's actually worsening our symptoms, conditions, or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes me think about a study from a long time ago that I read or referenced or spoke to with another trainer about how they studied, and I think it was Rick, and we were talking about how they took samples from porta potties, and they found that the most common ingredient across the samples of stool was multivitamins. So I totally agree with you. There's a percentage of people that just don't care. There's a percentage of people who don't know. And then the people who are trying to take multivitamins, it's like they're doing their best, but they're constantly getting the wool put over their eyes because, quite frankly, this stuff has been known for a while. This isn't new research, but talking about bioavailability of things, you can't just take something that's packed into a little pebble and expect that you're going to absorb all those vitamins. And yes, there is a need for some supplementation in certain aspects, but supplementation is like a crutch. You should be still trying to walk on your own or trying to get these vitamins on your own because it'll go a long way. So yeah, that's really interesting because there's definitely a lot more going on than just people who don't care. There's people who are trying to get the right vitamins in, but their bodies aren't set up for a proper absorption.
I think a lot of people think it is okay if I take this, I'm good, but man, that stuff's man-made. That is not, how do we know what we're absorbing out of that? But besides that, I was like, whoa. But I think it kind of tied to what we're going to talk about today is like, all right, what are people missing and why are people missing this? And we will surely dive into that.
Yeah. We'll explain why it's important that you need to get your vitamins. Although I'm sure your mother told you. But the only thing I wanted to add on to that is Center of Disease Control came out with a study that they published back in 2018, and I was reading it in a magazine about a month ago, and it said 1 in 2 Americans have a chronic illness, and that would be like heart disease, cancer, hypertension, diabetes, obesity, autoimmunity. So it's pretty ridiculous. 1 in 2 people in the U.S. has a chronic health condition, and I'm the one of these two sitting in this podcast right now. I have ulcerative colitis, and hopefully you don't have any chronic illnesses. But statistically speaking, we are the norm right now, and that's gross because if you look at longevity, it's been on a decline for the past 3 years. And then if you look at um, if you look at countries in terms of health and lifespan, we're not in the top five. We're not even in the top 10, and yet we spend the most amount on healthcare. So this is just needs to open up people's eyes a little bit, and needs to get people questioning their decisions, questioning what they're putting in their bodies, and questioning even little things like the products that they purchase to put in their
And
household.
I get the
That stuff goes a long way.
autoimmunity issue, but if you kind of like take that out for a second and you look, okay, heart disease, cancer, hypertension, and diabetes, obesity tied in. If you look at those, I mean, those are mainly the leading causes of death going right now. I mean, cardiovascular disease or heart disease is basically the number one thing going, and all these symptoms that lead up to it is huge. And one in two people having that, yeah, that's pretty crazy. I know and you probably know more of this than I do, but the autoimmunity, we can kind of learn and aid and help kind of correct and fix those issues as or mitigate the symptoms as best we can. Am I correct on that?
So what do you mean by mitigating the symptoms? In what way? Like
Like you can have
like clinically
so you have
um
or just like about what you eat, what you're doing, what you're putting
yeah,
on
I
your
mean
body, in your
for
body,
the
around your
most
body.
part you can do yeah. You can do that within like 24 hours.
So right. And I think that gives people, when they hear that, okay, one in two people, okay, yes, one in two people will have some sort of autoimmune reaction. I've had them in the past. It doesn't affect me every day, but certain things will cause that. You take that one away because we can kind of control that, and we control the other ones too. But the other ones are just such impactful that you could be sitting in a classroom with 30 people and 15 of those people might die younger because they're already at risk of that.
Yeah.
And think even at
I see what you're
a young
saying.
age, one in two people. Um, because I kind of like give people, okay, the autoimmunity, I get it. You can be born with it. But the other stuff, man, it's almost like you read that stat, you're like, I can't believe that. I gotta go find some different data. But from what we're going to talk about today, I can absolutely see where that goes, one and two.
Yeah, it's like I kind of see what you're saying because a lot of autoimmune I want to call them disorders because their severity is kind of um, it's variable among a bunch of different factors and person to person and different times it'll be more extreme than others. Whereas diabetes or congenital heart failure, these are things that you've already hit the tipping point and now you've really put permanent damage on ventricles or receptors or insulin pumps, stuff like that. So I kind of see what you're saying
Yes.
because those diseases, and I think it even went on to say something like one in four have those particular diseases, where it's almost like it's a much harder route to reverse the issues associated with heart failure or diabetes than it is, say, ulcerative colitis. I'll use that as an example because, yeah, I can full heartedly say that is just a temporary disorder of a malfunctioning immune system and inflammatory processes. But that's besides the point. One in two, you know, it kind of comes back to in assessments. I remember reading this about a doctor talking about how when they do assessments and they ask somebody their genetic history, that they're really actually getting more of a snapshot of the behaviors and habits of that individual, because that tells them what like their holobiome or their gut biome is acting upon. So the fact that this number is 1 in 2 now, I mean, you can just extrapolate that we're definitely exercising less, we're eating more junk food, and look where it's led us. I mean, how big does this number have to get before people wake the fuck up and realize that we aren't being given the secret sauce by magazines or commercials or products or companies? You can't go out there and buy your success. I mean, yeah, you might be able to buy a resource, you might be able to buy a product here and there, but you gotta be the you got to be your own health advocate. You have to be your own health advocate, and you just got to accept everything with it, take everything with a grain of salt, quite frankly.
Yeah, it can't be these, nowadays, I mean, we can't let that get to 1 in 1. And medication, we know doesn't, I mean, it masks the symptoms, it helps, but it's not going to cure that ratio. I would say like we got to have that ratio get bumped up higher and higher. And, you know, how do we do better as trainers to inform people of, okay, how do we day to day, not just what we're doing like collectively as a whole, but each and every hour of the day, what can we do to be better, make ourselves healthier? Small things can add up to make that number go away. And Matt, I think that's why we're here today.
I was just gonna say, we do our best to beat the drum, and get people to listen and wake up and ask questions. But I think you bring up a good point, because I think compliancy becomes everyone's battle. And listening to a lot of these doctors, they talk about that, about just trying to get their patients to do the right thing and get their patients to exercise, get their patients to be more cognizant of their diet, get their patients to fast. So, there have been a lot of things that were changed and adopted in a way to get people to do it. And I think that's kind of the first step, because like when we as professionals who are healthy and we have our nutrition dialed in, we have our habits dialed in, we have our routine dialed in, and we've done the research, it's really hard when you're looking from the outside in to say, that's where I want to go, I'm going to do it, and just have that pig-headed stubbornness about it. But when you can break it down for someone and say, that's where you want to go, but you need to get these steps in first, and that will lead you there, I think that it's much more manageable just psychologically. I just look back to all the assessments that I've had with people, and just taking it step by step, and we just work at like a goal at a month, right? Or a goal every 4 weeks, or what do we want to accomplish in the big picture? But what are we gonna do in the next month to get there? And I think people tend to be their own worst enemy. So when you recognize that something needs to make a change, it is just about accepting that and making an adjustment and moving forward. You can't fix everything all at once, and you can't be so paralyzed by analyzing that you don't take any action. So I think by talking and making yourself approachable is the best way that we can fight that good fight out there. And we always mention it all the time, but we're here for you people, by email, by text and phone, if you guys really want to set up a phone call with us. But the biggest thing is just getting the information out there. And then once you're there, it's about figuring out what the right step is for you at that given time. Don't get bogged down by the finish line. You still got to take one step ahead of the other to get there. But I think this is a great podcast to kind of segue into, because it starts to get people to be more self-aware. And maybe you'll start asking these questions now and figuring out, do you have these gaps in your life? But you'll also maybe you find yourself at work and you just notice like, oh wow, I am slouching, and that's a win. That's a little win because that's a little adjustment, that's a little improvement that's going to lead you to getting better every day. And that's really what everyone should strive to do. Is quite frankly, after puberty, your body's just on a slow digression to death. So you got to stimulate yourself in a way to get better every day. You should be reading, playing, exploring, falling down. I love the quote from Denzel Washington. He goes, fall down 7 times, you get up 8. Just that perseverance, just keep going and keep learning as you go. That's the best way you can do things. So with that being said, let's lead off on some really common lifestyle gaps that we can help identify people's weak areas. So go on, think real common. Think your most common client.
What I see the biggest lifestyle changes or questions asked is definitely the nutrition.
Just the biggest weakness in people's life and habits that you see.
Nutrition, number one.
Oh, you just picked like the biggest one. Yeah,
right.
That's like if I said health. All right, fine. Well, I thought we'd be a little more specific, but you're right, nutrition. Well, okay, I'll take it a step further, and I'll say nutrition on the go. For some reason, I find a lot of people know how to eat right when they're at home. They know how to eat right when they are in their little bubble of where they drive to from the gym to work or work to their appointments. They know the hot spots. They know the good places to go for their best choice meal. But for some reason, it's like if they have a trip to another state, it's like all hell is broken loose. So I would say eating on the go is people's biggest weakness. And it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, it's kind of tough to say because eating on the go, I mean, if you think about it, you're driving through the highway and you might have a rest stop here and there. What are your best options, right? Like you have a gas station with a bunch of processed products, maybe some fruit. It's definitely not organically farmed. You might have like an Arby's, maybe a Chick-fil-A, probably McDonald's. Like, what do people do in those scenarios besides just letting the floodgates open and eating everything? Any ideas?
That is a hard one for a lot of people. And I'm sure you've experienced it. I've experienced it, especially traveling in airports. I was in an airport 2 months ago and, there's not really good food options. You got to kind of force and find what you want. What I tell people as best you can, either, hey, you know what I'm going to go here. Don't eat because you'll be fine. You can fast. Or if you're a person that really needs some food, go find the healthiest option you can. A lot of places now, or even convenience stores, gas stations, you can go in, you can buy some fruit, and that doesn't have to be fruit that you might not be like completely organic, but something with like a banana or an outer shell that okay, I can have some kind of comfort level that there aren't pesticides being sprayed directly on or leaching through. That's my go-to. I don't know about you on those situations. I always tell people, as best you can, try to hold off. Go find a supermarket. They usually have some sort of salad bar, protein bar, soups and stuff that you can get, and those are pretty readily available everywhere, unless you're way out in the rurals. But as best you can, try to like fight that urge.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I think that's why about the not eating piece. I think that's something you have to have gained in your toolbox. So that's why I love fasting, and the way that I've done it is I started with just skipping a meal, and that was the hardest thing because my body was still on that carb addiction cycle, and it was sending the hormone ghrelin to be feeding to eat when in reality I actually didn't need to eat. But the hunger pains really set in because my body was so used to setting those appetizing hormones and signaling them at that time. So breaking out of the cycle was definitely hard. But once I got through that, I worked to going from after dinner, an earlier dinner, to skipping a breakfast, and I pushed breakfast back a little bit. And then I went back to skipping breakfast and making it to lunch, and then a full 24-hour fast, and then the same thing to work my way up to a 48-hour fast. And year to date, 2019, it's the end of May, I've done a 65-hour fast. And I don't recommend everybody jumping to that or even ever doing that. You don't need to do that. But I do it in a way so that I can have that tool in my tool belt. If for whatever reason I'm on a hike and it downpours and I need to get for cover and then there's a storm and I'm stuck out in the woods, whatever the scenario is, I want to know that my body can live and it's going to be fine. So I do like the fact that I have fasting in my toolbox, because if I'm on a plane or if I'm traveling somewhere and they're feeding me dog shit, I don't feel tethered to having to eat that crappy meal. So that's one option. Two, definitely planning ahead goes a long way. I know that not everybody can do that. They might get impromptu travel plans or long road trips, stuff like that. But planning ahead when you can and packing things for your trip or eating a big meal before you travel and then planning to have a nice, good meal when you land, that goes a long way. I definitely went through a period of being really, for lack of a better word, poor. And I would eat whole wheat bagels and cans of tuna, and I would swipe at Qdoba or Chipotle. And every now and then, my meal, because I want to get my calories in, I was trying to get big, I wanted to get stronger, I wanted to get more muscle. I would go to like Wendy's or McDonald's, and I looked it up online. You can look up their nutrition facts of their products. And the healthiest thing I found was an original chicken sandwich. It was like a grilled original chicken sandwich, no sauce. You can take the bread off and just eat the chicken if you want. You can have some lettuce if you want. So there are creative ways that you can get to in a good, better, best scenario, at least get to your best selection in that scenario. Before the original chicken sandwich, though, I would probably say you'd want to try to find like some walnuts or, like you said, a banana or a piece of fruit or an apple or something like that. Something that's not processed. You'd be much better off having something that your biology, that your bacteria that is living on and in and with you has seen for millennia. You're much better that way than giving it some artificial, synthetically made garbage that is just going to fire off your immune system, cause leaky gut, and cause more longer lasting damage than you need to deal with.
I think that's why when you asked me the question, my first thing was like, okay, nutrition, because where do people fall short? I know,
I'm just giving you a hard time because that's like that is the biggest one, but you blanketed over all these other problems that people could be having. But it's good because then we just dive further into it, and I think that's the biggest area I see with my clients, because sometimes weekends alone is just a break enough for someone to I ate like shit this weekend, right? But traveling, without a doubt, every time someone travels, they report back, I didn't do so well. And it's just
you could even I would even take that maybe even further. How about this, like daily travel? Because I have a lot of clients that, they'll travel from, outside the city to inside the city, or even, they're coming from across the city, and, I'll ask, all right, what are we eating today? Like, oh, I'm going to stop and grab something on my way in, and then I'll, head out for lunch and grab something. I don't know what it's going to be. And then dinner, it's kind of the same thing. I'm like, you have nothing planned? I know the whole planning thing going food shopping and having food is tough. A lot of people do it, but that's another thing is just daily travel. I mean, there's so many options, and then people get in this peer setting and, work, and people are like, oh, I'm going to go to a sandwich shop, and they're like, all right, why I'll go there. And then it kind of gets back to this, what you said before, processed food. We're eating food that is just not nutritious, lacking so many vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we should be getting each day. And it like cycle perpetuates. So I would say like all kinds of travel for my clients too, daily.
Yeah, and I would say one solution for that is change your environment. Like either change where you frequently go to read or something if you're tempted by the smell of the bakery, maybe, or change the people you eat with. Like I don't give a fuck if they're your best friend. If they're your best friend and you can't straight up tell them hey man, like I think you might be smart to make some healthier choices because of XYZ, then I'm sorry that they're not a good enough friend because it's very one dimensional love if you just tell people what they want to hear versus telling them what they should hear. That being said, you are a product of your environment. So if you're eating really clean and you go out with all your friends and all they get is cheeseburgers and cookies and soda all the time, you're going to eventually be having the same exact thing as them. Whether you like to believe it or not, there's going to be just a couple days that you have some fries or whatnot. So if you're really if you're serious about turning your health around, if you're serious about making the right changes for your biome and your gut, then you got to take full control of it. You got to take full control of your situations. And everybody knows, for the most part, when they're making a bad decision, but I don't think a lot of people know what the best decision looks like. And I think that's not necessarily anyone's particular fault. I just think there's a lot of misguided information out there because there's so much out there. So what I try to tell my clients is circle your meals around vegetables, whether that's a salad, whether that's you know that you're steaming broccoli that night, or you know that you're whatever you just bought a bunch of Brussels sprouts and beets. Start with that and then work your way around everything else. You know, you can put some olive oil on it. You're gonna put some balsamic. Maybe you'll fry up some eggs, or maybe you'll bake some salmon, and boom, you just made a meal, and you're not really that unhealthy anyway. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that go into it, and I think eating on the go is definitely people's biggest weakness when it comes to nutrition. And there's plenty of solutions: fasting, preparing meals, like meal prepping, and then also just educating yourself on the better choices that are out there.
And I think kind of stepping off the better choices is the next place I usually go with this umbrella that we'll call nutrition, of what people are lacking is basically the meals you just said are nutrient dense foods. Most people are not getting that in their daily lives, like not even meeting, like I said in the beginning of my in the news, not even coming close to the dietary recommendations. And that's even a lower bar set. I mean, people need to be getting a little bit more. And especially as we get older, yeah, as kids, we need this stuff too, but it just doesn't stop once we become 18, 20, or 21. And now we're an adult. Like, we still need these foods because, like you said, metabolisms flip, brains flip, everything changes as we get older. We still need nutrients. Nutrients are big proponents of what people are needing. And no, vitamins and multivitamins that you buy at CVS don't count for me.
Yeah, I want to shift gears here because I want to make sure that we touch on everything here. And I want to go. We talked a lot about nutrition and the big weaknesses there. You know, we could talk. We could stay here for days. We could talk about how sugar is people's weaknesses, how emotional impulsivity is people's weakness in eating versus thinking with their prefrontal cortex. But I want to talk a little bit about people's just schedules, I guess, or lifestyle agendas and what they're missing out on. And two of them that come to mind is sweating. I think the way that people work their daily routine, a lot of people don't end up sweating a lot, especially if you have a desk job. You know, we have all these different temperature regulating convenient tools, AC, we have homes that test your internal temperature when you come in, so they help you reach your homeostatic level, whatever that may be. But people don't really get too hot or too cold, and people don't sweat. So I think that's one, and we can talk about. And then another one is just slowing down the day. I think everyone's go, go, go and way too fast. And not a lot of people get time to really to smell the roses, so to speak. Because I have all my clients do yoga at least once a week. And I've had a guy I've been working with for 2 years. And he finally went to his first yoga class 2 weeks ago. And he was like, I don't think, because he like, something didn't work with his schedule and he couldn't meet on Wednesday. So I was like, how about we just meet Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday, and you do, try to go to yoga on Wednesday. And he was like, all right, yeah. So after that, he's like, I don't think I'm going to ever book with you on Wednesdays. I think I'm going to start just going to that class every Wednesday. So it made me smile because it's something that people lack. There's a great book called Thinking Fast and Slow, and we live in the thinking fast world. Bigger, better, stronger. Got to make more money. Got to get the kids to school. Got to get food on the table. Got to get ready for the next day of work. Got a deadline, but we never get that mental clarity of just nothingness in our brain or in our head, and just getting that peace and that serenity. So those two I really want to highlight and talk about a little bit here.
I have a list in front of me on my paper I wrote. It says enjoying daily life. And I think that's a great place to start. And it's not even
I mean, it's
like enjoying life. Like I get that, but enjoying daily life. I can't remember if it was on a podcast or we were talking. I remember a couple of weeks ago, you were like, it doesn't matter what day it is. It's just you make the best of the day and you're enjoying and doing what you want throughout that day. And when I was listening to that, and I was like, yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, I said that? I don't remember that, but okay.
But basically, you were saying like, I don't care that it's like, oh, it's a Monday and it's Tuesday, Wednesday. You're looking at every day as like, how am I going to make the best of my day? Because at the end of everything, if you take days away, like what they are or weeks, they're just 24 hours that everyone has. And yes, you have to go to work and you have to do rest of life, but just because today's a Monday doesn't mean it's a bad day. It's like you still have 24 hours that you're going to do what you want with it. And that's where a lot of people miss out in life is, I think they let time fly by, or, we're so busy and trapped on online, internet, social media outlets that we're kind of being like, okay, I'm connecting, but you're not really, connecting with yourself, with other people around you. And you're just amply wasting time.
Well, yeah, it's just so important that you recognize that when you wake up, when your eyes open and you realize that you're in the world that you were in yesterday, that you should enjoy that. Like, you don't know if you're going to get that every single day. And, I think I was kind of preoccupied by death at a young age and fascinated by it and kind of wondered about it all the time, that it made me value life more. And I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and they're like, sometimes someone was asking me like why I push myself to that limit sometimes. And I literally said like, because there's nothing like the value of feeling alive after you've put yourself on the verge of death. And it's like, it's sick, but it's like I've worked out so hard on my life because I was escaping this depression. I wanted to feel good again. And by getting myself to a point where I was like sweaty and gross and didn't feel great and I didn't feel like death, like I was going to actually die, but I didn't feel like physically, everything didn't feel amazing. But because of that, the adverse effect was appreciation and feeling amazing and recognizing that baseline is amazing, that, don't let the highs get you too high and the lows get you too low. Neutrality is amazing. That's the great world you want to live in. So I think it's really important for people to enjoy each day, because you just don't know what else is out there. You don't know when the day is done, that it's going to be your last day. And some of the things that help me remind that are just great individuals who lived amazing lives, who it was all just taken away. I mean, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, who was that other guy? Kurt Cobain. They were all 27 years old when they died, which is really ironic, but they were all 27 years old. They were on top of the world. And people can argue that they lived the best life within 27 years that we'll ever live, but it's all gone. And another one that comes to mind more recently is that there was this, like, I don't know if you read about this. There's this like 14-year-old athlete who was gunned down at a party, and like just listening to his mom speak, I'm like baffled that she can even like talk to the public. Like, I would be so distraught. And this kid was an athlete. He had good grades. He was going places. He could have gone to like any college he wanted already, and just like that, all gone, all down the drain. So, what are you really living for? What are you really doing with fitness and taking care of your health anyway, right? Like, you're not just, your end goal isn't to like, oh, I just want to make it to 100 and then what, just die? No, like, you're trying to live each day and enjoy each day to its fullest along the way, or at least I am. And I think everyone should, because otherwise you miss the boat and you end up with a bunch of narcissistic people who don't give a shit about other people and exploit them, and then we're in problems
or
like
you get the end of your life, right? Your quality of life, if you want to be one of the 1 and 2 with these, cardiovascular disease issues and stuff, like, you really want to spend the last 10 years on medication and maybe in a bed and battling stuff while other people are out, going on trips, living their life. I think it's very almost like, yeah, you had this knowledge of death and fear of death, but I think people are almost like trying to shunt that and like shut that down and be like, oh, well, I kind of know I'm going to wake up tomorrow, so I'll just deal with it then. And
yeah. Yeah, and I think an interesting point that just comes to mind too is people miss out on the play. And we've talked about this before in previous podcasts, but people miss out on doing what they just truly enjoy and what they want to do, and following almost like their instincts, right? Like if I'm out and about and my instincts tell me like, I want to go for a run today, it's nice out, fuck it, I'll go for a run. I don't ever run. I ran like a mile and a half and stopped, and this was like last week, but I just felt like I wanted to run, so I followed my instincts. And people ask me if I've seen this show or that show or this series, and I'll admit I got in on Game of Thrones. That was a good story to follow. George R. R. Martin is a genius with combining history and fantasy, but I'm not here to just pass the time and waste time. And sometimes I feel like with all that stuff, it's just to waste time, just to pass the time. So don't let life live you. Make sure you're living your life. And it reminds me of that quote from Step Brothers. He's like, don't lose your dinosaur. And it's true. Like, don't lose what makes you a kid. Don't use your youthfulness of life and your zest for life and the way that you just pick things up and tinker with it, and it might break, but you might have learned something in that process. So I think we don't play enough. And I think that's kind of coming back full circle to how people don't really enjoy each day and live each day to the fullest. We're bogged down by responsibilities. We're bogged down by goals that everybody has, and that's great. But you gotta remember to enjoy each day.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one that a lot of people miss. And it doesn't have to be necessarily going out and doing stuff, or it could be what sometimes people like different things, right? Some people like to read, some people like to play music, some people like to just go walk in nature. It doesn't matter what the outlet is like, like you said, find a passion for something, and kind of find some meaning for something for your day, and go do it. Even if you have 15 minutes, instead of picking up your phone and scrolling through nonsense, maybe you pick up your phone and order a new book, or read some article that you didn't know existed, that you, for the first time you read it, you're like, wow, this is new information. I didn't know about that. But I definitely think people daily need more of that. And then even without just slow time, like bringing that back to, you know, yeah, you're driving in your car, but can you shut your radio off and all this outside noise off and just sit there and kind of think to yourself and, be with your own self, and almost, maybe you don't have to like actually practice like deep breathing, but just, kind of come to this like zen with your one self. It could be for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can turn the radio back on. I've done stuff like that with myself sitting in traffic, and you just kind of, like you said, you kind of find a different meaning, discover yourself more. That's kind of ways I tell people, or even sometimes on the train, I'll have headphones in, but I don't have music going. It's just kind of like noise block. I'm thinking about my day, thinking about what I'm going to do, thinking about how I'm going to do it, what I'm going to do with my free time, all stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it over into the sweating side of things, because I feel like a lot of people don't sweat, and there's multitudes of reasons why we want to be able to sweat. Obviously, detoxifying one of the largest organs on your body, your skin, is super important.
Oh, that should be number one right there.
Getting your core temperature up so that you're cooking off bacteria essentially is super important. Upregulation of your endocrine system, and it's really easy to make this change if you have a sauna attached to your gym. That's a really easy way to do it. Another really good way to implement it is just working out in sweatpants or long sleeve shirts or something like that. That can also help. What I do too is after I do a yoga class, but sometimes if I don't do the yoga class, after I've worked out, I'll and what I meant by the yoga, some places, some yoga rooms will actually heat it, so it's like you're getting a sauna and you're doing yoga. But after I work out, I'll just hop in my car as it's been sitting there in the heat all day, and I'll leave the windows up and I'll just drive home like that. And sometimes I'll turn the heat on, sometimes I don't even need to, and I'm just still sweating like crazy. So yeah, I'd say that's another big area that it's a big weakness for people in regulating their body, in being healthy, and achieving the goals they want to achieve. So get your sweating in. At least get a good sweat probably twice a week for 30 minutes. And what I'm referencing is this study that was out of Finland, where they did thousands of people over 10 years. And Dr. Rhonda Patrick has a reference on her website, Found My Fitness. And basically two groups, or there were multiple groups, but groups that did no sauna whatsoever versus groups that did the sauna. The groups that did the sauna saw a decrease in all mortality risks by 30% for just doing the sauna 3 times a week for 30 minutes. So it's simple stuff. It's really simple stuff. We talked about eating. We talked about living, and we talked about sweating. So it's really great that we found those as the big common weaknesses. And I just want to make sure that we spend the last 15 minutes or so just discussing. You think we forgot anything?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff in the time. I mean, we could definitely pick everything apart to a T. I mean, like you said, we could probably spend a whole episode on just lacking nutrients, or
I'm just trying to think of simple things. We could change this whole title of this podcast, but basically it's like weaknesses that have simple solutions. So big weaknesses with small solutions.
The only other thing I had written down, this kind of goes back to the sweating and the exercise side of it. I don't want to, kind of harp on that, because I know that's kind of what we kind of do and talked about over podcasts. But, having people learn to, have new programs, people miss a lot of stuff. Even though they do exercise every day, people can still miss out on the benefits of it because they're not giving their body the proper adaptation or change that it needs. So I wrote down like, okay, challenges, what's going to be a challenging workout that it's going to get you out of your comfort zone and you might fail at. Try that throughout the day. Try that throughout the week. It doesn't have to be every day. And then just changing stimulus and basically moving around. Get multi-planar movement, all kinds of range. That kind of goes in with play. You're outside. You might be running, jumping, moving, all kinds of movement, kind of keep the body healthy. That's the stuff that I just wrote down, the exercise-wise. I mean, I think we know a lot of people need to exercise more, and people are missing that. But when they do get on exercise track, make sure that they kind of stay there and keep progressing forward and not just getting stuck. Because there is such a thing that when you can exercise over and over and you get stuck, you'll get a detraining effect. Like you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're not going to see benefits.
Law
So
of diminishing returns.
it's crazy, but that's kind of what I had left on my list.
Yeah, I like it because the only thing I saw that I wrote down on my list was like repetitive movement or repetitive stagnancy. So it kind of all come together in one. And I like how our sort of big weakness is basically being stagnant or being stale, whether that's in your movement in general or whether that's just how you're doing the same repetitive movement patterns and you're not doing anything different. So that's the big weakness. And the simple solution, I would kind of like what you're saying, is just do something different. Like if we have to put a prescription on it, it'd be like learn something new every month or try something new physically every week. Whether that's I'm gonna take the stairs everywhere I go this week, right? Or every day after work, I'm gonna run up and down the stairs in my building like for 20 minutes, right? Something like that, where you're just challenge yourself in a little bit of ways here and there. Maybe you sign up for like a recreation tennis league or something. Like do something active that's new in your life. I would say like once a month, right? Like take the kids to a trampoline park. I guarantee you'll be sweating bullets by the end of it and it'll have a great workout. Just little things like that. Get out more. Don't be in your box at home.
And I think, obviously we covered a lot, but with that, it kind of goes through what we've kind of based this podcast off. I mean, exercise, nutrition, and mindset. I mean, those three big things are big umbrellas of what we dove into, of what people are missing. And we will continue and always drive the purpose of, having a sound mindset and having the right mindset towards exercise, life, nutrition, so you can be better each day. And then having the other two on point, that just makes overall your life better and you'll live more optimally. Mm-hmm. That's kind of who we are. You kind of sat down and stemmed and started that. We kind of want our mission to be for people.
Yeah. And I think it is funny how sometimes in the moment, it feels like the biggest problem that you can't overcome. And usually the solution is right in front of your face. It's usually pretty simple. So I urge anybody who has a issue or problem area or weakness area that didn't hear any of it mentioned in this podcast today, send us an email. Let us know what your concern is, and we'll see if we can't help you find your solution. That wraps it up this week.